Welcome to the Fifth Quarter Sportscast. I'm Jared Judy, and last episode here for a little while here with my buddy Todd Corley as usual. We got to the final. We got a champion crown. We got the Chiefs pulling out the victory here for the second time in the last couple years. But we can run through some of the spectacle and wonder, I guess, on the Super Bowl and what we thought of it. But yeah, I think we'll kind of break down this, and we'll go on a little bit of a hiatus here until some major breaking news comes out, or we get into the draft season again. Then maybe we'll pick back up here. But diving into the
bowels,
yes, the stuff around the game. We'll start with that. What'd you think of the commercials? What'd you think of that? Was there any? I personally thought I don't think the commercials are really as good as they have been over the years. It kind of let down.
Ben Affleck and J-Lo. Water. What do you have?
Honestly,
I got water.
There's
Ben
only
Affleck in his goddamn thick Boston accent.
Yeah, there's only like that one, and the only other one that I really, really remember, or I guess two that I really remembered, and that's just
Miles Teller dancing in his underpants.
Yeah,
Bud Light. Yeah, you like it. Slap a fucking shamrock on it, you'll like it, you fucking green Mick bastard.
Well,
yeah, that's what I thought.
They've played the hell out of it on YouTube as a preview before the Super Bowl, so I've seen that one many times. But the other one, and I actually kind of got on the people around here, my kids, and I'm like, "What are you doing? What'd you do? Did you see the Tubi commercial?"
No.
Oh my gosh!
I was busy losing all my money, Jared. I don't know what to tell you. I was live betting during the Super Bowl.
I don't want to say it was good, but it was definitely one of those where it was very believable. So they had Burkhart and Greg Olson talking like they were coming back from a commercial break, breaking down the last play, and then all of a sudden it brought up like a TV guide and was flipping to like different apps like Netflix and Amazon and Hulu, like somebody was sitting on the remote or something. And so I remember looking around like, who's messing with the remote? What are you doing? And then all of a sudden it was like Tubi TV, and then it went right back into Burkhart and Olson. They were basically trying to advertise, what all Tubi has to offer. But for a split second there, it was like, what the hell's going on? Who's messing with the remote? And then you think, wait a minute, I don't even have Tubi. So what's going on here?
Tubi's nice. You're missing out.
Yeah, but there was a lot of people that I've heard got kind of duped by that one. But like I said, it wasn't all that great, but it definitely caught people off guard, I guess. It stuck with them. But moving on.
Herpes.
What's that?
Just like herpes.
Yeah, well, I guess.
That shit don't wash off, Jared.
That's what I hear.
Facts.
But what'd you think of the halftime show? I
don't hate Rihanna.
It's not my speed. It's not my genre. I didn't really necessarily care one way or the other. I didn't think they knocked it out of the park, but I mean, whatever. It is what it was.
It wasn't a 80-pound overweight 50 Cent with Eminem, Snoop Dogg, and Dr. Dre. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
You give me a fat 50 hanging upside down, swinging like a goddamn bat in a cave, and Eminem. Shit, like Snoop Dogg hitting a fucking doobie before he goes out. That's gold, homie.
Yeah,
Rihanna, she don't make the stick move. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess to me, in my opinion, I felt like it was kind of underwhelming. Felt more like it was focused on all the backup dancers and all that stuff and the stuff around it. But I don't know. Again, I'm not really one that gets into the halftime stuff anyway. That's usually when I go grab another beer out of the fridge or refill my food. So I'm not usually around watching them anyway. But let's get to the main action. Yeah, let's get to the main thing here. So the game. What's your take on it? You think it was a good game, bad game?
I think the NFL scriptwriters did a pretty good job with fulfilling their agenda. I think it was bullshit. What I don't understand is how Miles Sanders has like this season from like this God blessed, unreal season where he just does everything I don't think he's capable of the entire year. And then all of a sudden, the most important game of the goddamn of his life, and all of a sudden he reverts back to exactly who I knew he was.
Are we convinced
Dude,
are we convinced that was even him wearing the jersey? Because that didn't seem like him.
2.3 yards per carry. Okay.
Well,
The leading rusher by far, by miles, was Jalen Hurts.
absolutely. And it's been that way for a couple weeks. But what blew me away was his line. His line was like, what, 68 and a half or something going into the game?
Unreal.
And I didn't, there's no way I thought he was going to hit that. I picked him at like 40 because I thought that was a little bit more achievable. But I think it was like midway through the fourth quarter, or maybe even with like 5 minutes left in the game, he had negative 2 yards still. Like, how the heck do you have negative 2 yards when you've been playing out of your mind for how many weeks, which is a total anomaly? Like, how do you can't even get the ball and fall forward for positive yard? Like, it blew me away. I didn't understand it at all. But that was one of the points I took from it. Like, what the heck happened? He was completely non-factor, and he was the benefactor. Kenneth Gainwell, he was the benefactor of Miles Sanders' ineptitude. He looked pretty good. Now, granted, he wasn't all that effective either, but he looked a hell of a lot better than Sanders. But then again, Sanders put the bar pretty low.
Yeah, shit. Unreal, man. Unreal.
I will say, as far as, talking, we can kind of weave in and out here with some of the bets, but I kind of sprinkled the board here with first team score. Obviously, I had Kelsey because I don't know of anybody else that would have scored. I didn't have any trust in anybody else to score first. But I had Kelsey and, unfortunately, Sanders. And all of these were on free bets, so I didn't lose anything out of pocket. But I had Kelsey and Sanders. I had Kelsey and Goddard. I had Kelsey and Hurts, which obviously hit thanks to Kenneth Gainwell being short by like 6 inches. I had Kelsey and I think I might even had a Boston Scott one in there just for the hell of it. But yeah, that one hit for me. So that was a nice jump start to the game. But did anybody really have any, I guess, question that Kelsey wasn't going to be the first one to score? Like, that seemed like the biggest no-brainer ever.
Yeah, I mean, he's good at football. Outside of Mahomes, the only consistent one.
Yeah. Well, and I know we had kind of we have some we have a little bit of I don't want to say assistance, but we have some tools at our expense for doing some bets here. And one of the ones that we had came across, which isn't a typical bet, I don't think a lot of people would take, was Bradbury on tackles and assists. And I know you pointed out that that one to me, and that was huge. Like, the odds on that one was huge. I think it was 3.5, I think is where you got it originally on FanDuel.
I saw, it was 3.5 on FanDuel, and then I saw it
down
on
to 2.5, down to 2.5 in Caesars, which made it even better. Man, those that right there paid off massive. Now, granted, you had to wait till almost the entire game to get it, but when that thing hit, that was really all I was waiting on for the parlay.
That's it, baby. I wouldn't lead you astray.
Well, I think we had what? Did we have a 4-leg or a 5-leg? I don't even remember. I had so many.
There was at least a 4-leg because our dude, old Charlie Bravo, he was all in on the under, saying that he folded in the big game. I'm sitting here thinking, dude, I told you my reasoning beforehand. I'm like, dude, all Mahomes is going to do, they're not going to run the ball.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to tackle Kelsey. It's a secondary. Yeah. What do you think they're going to do? Go towards Slay? Ain't happening.
And I will say, speaking of running the ball, Pacheco, God, that guy runs so hard. He runs so hard. And I think with the way that he's really came on the end of the year, I think CEH's days are kind of numbered. He's probably done. I don't see why they would even bring him back, to be honest. Not with the way that Pacheco's playing. But the one that I think, I don't know if you had probably one of your biggest bets that you thought that kind of screwed you. I think the biggest one for me was I stupidly took Mahomes under 19.5 yards rushing, because when I looked at a lot of his trends, hasn't ran that much. And then when we look at the injured ankle, I was like, I don't think he's going to run unless he has to. And then towards the end of that game, the seas opened and parted, and he just took off, and he blew that under real quick, just on one run. I think it was like 25 yards. My God damn it.
26, yeah, it was his
Something,
longest. Yeah.
So that basically blew that under just in one play. But
For
that was
me, it
probably
was
my
Pacheco, man. Like I thought, you and I have talked about it.
yeah.
I think that dude is an absolute stud. He was under. It was almost like the exact opposite
They
of
flipped.
Miles Sanders
Exactly.
because Pacheco was like this monster little dude who runs hard, runs fast, looks
But
like
he
an
was only
absolute stud, and
but he was
underutilized every goddamn game. This guy should be
exactly.
running for easily, dude. He should
And
run for
he's
80 yards a game,
but
no problem.
he's not really that involved in the passing game. He only
No,
does the running, and when he gets the
right.
running yards, he's only getting 20 to 30 yards a game.
Right. The only one they're throwing to is Jerick McKinnon. They're not.
Exactly.
They're not throwing to Isaiah Pacheco, unfortunately, because I feel unless he's got hands like my ass, I don't understand. Like it doesn't make sense to me because that kid is wildly talented. So then this game he comes out and he runs like a man possessed, averaging over 5 yards a carry, and he blew away. I had him at under 49.5. I had him at under 46.5. I think I actually had him under at did I have him under like 69 or some shit? I think I had him under like just under 70. It didn't matter because he blew away every single one of them.
Yeah.
So
Where,
that
where
was
did
the biggest one for me.
where was he? Was he Rutgers or Maryland? Rutgers?
Pacheco, dude,
Yeah.
honest to God, I don't remember a goddamn thing about him. He went to Rutgers, but I don't
Okay.
remember a goddamn thing about him in college. I'm not going to
no.
bullshit you.
Well, the only reason I brought it up, and I thought it was interesting, sometime this week, McAfee had on Leach, the GM, and they were talking to him about Pacheco. And they said, how did you get him to fall? I think he was like a 6th round or 7th round. They said, you see him run on the field. He runs with a purpose, and his purpose is to run over anybody in the way. He could have a wide open lane to the sideline, and he's going to find that safety and try to run him over. Like, how did he last until that deep in the draft? And he said he thought, the GM for the Chiefs thought that he only had like maybe 4 to 6 total targets his entire college career. So he wasn't even being utilized in the passing game in college. And he said we had a hard time trying to decipher if that was he had a catching problem, he couldn't hang on to the ball, or the fact that the offense just wasn't designed to involve him in the passing game. He said, but when he went to his pro day and his combine, he caught everything in sight. Like he didn't miss a beat. So I don't exactly know how he dropped that low. I guess maybe just because he's very small in size. But my God, the guy runs like a fucking freight train.
He reminds me of, and I've said this before, but he reminds me of a running back Tyreek Hill.
Yeah,
I know they wear the same number, but dude, he's got that stocky, short, little, explosive, fast,
his twitch speed
fast
is unreal.
twitch. Oh my God, dude,
It's unreal.
Honest to God, like
You know
Clyde, do you remember Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Because I forgot all about him.
Well, I was going to say I don't think many people remember him, but
Yeah, he's everything that I thought Edwards-Helaire was going to be.
you know who he kind of reminds me of? He kind of reminds me of a smaller, younger AP. With the way that AP came out and just was like running dudes over, he has that fast twitch speed just like AP did, where 1 second you look, AP's in the hole. The next minute you blink, he's running down the sideline. Like he has that fast twitch speed. But I don't know. That dude's a monster. I think if he just keeps playing like that and can stay healthy, he's got a long tenure with the Chiefs. If the Chiefs can actually find a way to get him involved. Like we know Kelsey's your money horse. We got it. But man, get Pacheco the ball.
They got to do it next year. I'll tell you that. What's going to be interesting though is, and what I don't understand is, like Eric Bieniemy has been in the rumblings for like head coaching positions for years. And then I just saw something today that he interviewed for an offensive coordinator. I don't even remember it somewhere else, but an offensive court, like that's like a lateral. I don't get it. It's like a lateral move.
Well, and I've heard people on ESPN talking about that. Like, why wouldn't he want to go to head coach? And supposedly, from what the rumors are, and I've heard it from, I don't know if it's Rappaport or whoever, I've heard rumblings from, people in the know that apparently Bieniemy is actually not calling the plays. He's helping put the formations together and come up with the plans, but it's Andy Reid that's calling the plays. So he feels like if he can go to a place where you have a defensive minded head coach, he'll get free reign then to call the plays.
Mm-hmm.
So that would set him up for a head coaching job. Whereas now he goes from basically just doing nothing. Not that I'm trying to, downplay him, but going from not doing any play calling to calling the shots for the whole thing. Like, I think that's probably why he's looking to do more or less a lateral move with a defensive head coach, because then he would have full control over the offense where he doesn't now. But since you brought that point up, they were talking about it on ESPN Madison, and I thought it was kind of an interesting question. They were trying to compare the Kansas City Chiefs and their franchise to the Packers and how things are different. But I started thinking, and they kind of led me down this path. But what do you think? Mahomes has only been in the league for 5 years, 6 years. And before that, they were pretty decent with Alex Smith, but obviously light years better with Mahomes. What do you think, in your opinion, is the biggest reason why they've had such a massive increase in success over the last 3 to 5 years? Is it the quarterback play with Mahomes being, just freaking anomaly at the quarterback position? Is it the coaching staff with the combination of Bieniemy and Andy Reid? Is it the front office for putting them in, position, having that staff around them? I mean, is it the overall team talent? I mean, you get rid of Tyreek Hill, which arguably was the fastest, one of the best people on that team, and you didn't miss a beat without him. So, like, I don't know where the benefit lies, or if it's a benefactor of the whole pie. I don't know.
Honestly, and I absolutely hate to say it because I'm not a fan personally. I think it's the Mahomes factor, man. He does things. He prolongs plays. He gets rid of the football when any other quarterback would take a hit, sack, incomplete, interception. It's the Mahomes thing. Like you just said, they lost Tyreek Hill.
Didn't matter.
And they won the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
I think they're sort of giving the Super Bowl, but they got to the Super Bowl. They did. I mean, they're Super Bowl champs without Tyreek Hill. Yeah, dude, and Travis Kelce, I'm waiting for him to fall off. The dude's defenses don't know how to stop him. But running backs, they've got their running game is, for the most part, I think pretty insignificant, even though I think they've got the talent. Their receivers,
it's almost like they have the running game, and it's like a bag of riches. Like, they have it, they don't use it, but if they had to use it, it's there. It's perfect. It's ready to go. They just don't ever use it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't know,
man.
I'm kind of torn because Andy Reid had some decent success when he was in Philly. He could never get to the Super Bowl and win it, but they had pretty decent teams when he was in Philly with McNabb. But obviously, let's be honest here. McNabb is not a Mahomes. Let's just put that record out there.
That dude had a cannon, though. God damn.
But still, he had pretty good. He had pretty good teams in Philly. He just couldn't get over the hump. So, but then again, when you also look at the type of deal that the front office offered Mahomes when they did that 10-year deal and push out that money for 10 years. That really gives them a lot of leeway to kind of divvy up some of the pay to keep some of that talent in-house, where some of these other teams doing 2, 3, 4-year deals, and then the market goes through the roof. They got to reassess and start over. Whereas, Mahomes, you're still locked in at that rate when the market explodes. So I'm sure they'll redo a deal at some point. But I think it's a combination, the front office being smart with contracts and putting the talent around them, having Andy Reid there, who's a nice offensive mind, Bieniemy. But ultimately, the way I look at it, would the Chiefs, with current roster, current front office, and current coaching staff, be just as good if they had somebody there like, let's say, Zach Wilson? Would they be in the Super Bowl? Would they be in the Super Bowl with somebody like a Paxton Lynch from years ago? Would they be in the Super Bowl with Mike White?
No.
So, that in itself kind of leads me to think that Mahomes has the biggest impact on that team. That's obviously not a no-brainer. But I thought it was an interesting question because it's, there's a lot of people there doing a hell of a job to keep that team together. But with that being said, he wasn't all that much of an impact and kind of injury riddled in New York. But Kadarius Toney, do you think the Chiefs got all their money's worth out of him? I mean, he was beat up in New York.
He didn't really do much more. He didn't do much more than with the Giants, did he?
That's what I was going to say. He didn't do much with the Giants. He didn't really do a whole lot over the course of the season with the Chiefs, but that one punt return set him up pretty damn good.
Yeah, I know. That was a key play, man.
Well, I think there were two major plays in that game, not counting the holding, non-holding penalty. We'll get to that here in a little bit. There were two major points in that game that, in my opinion, if you want to look at the turning point that really dictated the outcome, it was Tony's punt return for, what was it, 60-some yards or something crazy. And then Jalen Hurts fumbling, scoop and score. Those were two big pivotal plays in the game that was like, oh, if you're a Philly fan or you're a Philly player, that's just a shot to the mouth right there. Like that's huge, especially the Hurts turnover. That's 6 the other way. It's going to be hard to come from behind when you're playing against the Chiefs.
What's this Hurts turnover you're talking about?
What's that?
What's the Hurts turnover you're talking about?
When he got hit and he fumbled, and they picked it up and scooped and scored off of it. You don't remember that?
No. All I remember was Jalen Hurts balling the fuck out, running for 3 touchdowns, throwing for 1, and getting a 2-point conversion. I get a little defensive when everybody starts talking disparaging fucking anything about Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl.
Nick Bolton.
Nick Bolton's a little bitch.
That's neither here nor there. There was the play where Hurts was trying to switch hands with the ball, and he got hit and tripped and fumbled the ball, and Bolton picked it up and ran it back for 6. And if you take that off the board,
237. Jesus Christ, I shit more than that for fucking breakfast. Sawed off little prick.
Man, I feel bad for your toilet. But anyway, you take that 6 off the board. I mean, you win the game. So I'm not that I'm putting all that on Jalen Hurts because he played a hell of a game, but that's when you compound that with the way they played in the second half, it's going to be hard to overcome. But I mean, they played probably the most complete half they could have the first half. They were just punching the Chiefs in the mouth, and the Chiefs couldn't seem to compete. And then they came out the second half and didn't do a damn thing. Like, it looked like a totally different team. Sanders played like crap. They couldn't move the ball. They couldn't stop anybody on defense. Like, it was literally the tale of two halves. But with that being said, let's get right to it. What do you think? Yeah, what do you think about the last call here?
Listen,
the Bradbury hold.
I don't give a good goddamn what Bradbury says. That's some bullshit. Greg Olsen was right. You don't call a fucking. You don't call it. You don't call a penalty of that magnitude at that point in the game during the biggest point.
Correct.
The biggest game of the fucking season. So
so we're on the same page then. You agree, whether you call it or not, you agree that, yeah, that was holding, that would have been a penalty at any point in the game. Really?
No.
All right, I'll put it this way. I think that, yes, it was a penalty, potentially, but the same thing was happening the entire game.
That's what I'm saying, man.
If it
wasn't called every single if you're going to call it if you're going to call that the entire game, then fine. Cool. You've set a precedent. Defensive backs know what they can't do. You can't fucking come within 5 yards. NFL wants offense. Score. People want points. Great. But if you've got your fucking agenda already planned out and you need the goddamn Chiefs to win and you need that first down and you know they're going to kill the clock and not give Jalen and the company any time to score, fuck you.
Well, that was my thing. I'm pissed,
man.
It looked to me like, yes, it was a hold, but it wasn't something where he tackled the guy and it was like a major hold. But when you saw how they were playing the entire game, that stuff was going on the entire game. So while I think, yes, it was a penalty, it was a technical hold, yes, they should have threw the flag. But with that being said, you should have threw the flag every time that occurred in the game. And if you're not going to, then you don't throw it then either. So, I mean, I think we're on the same page that either you're going to make a decision that game. Yes, we're going to call this, or no, we're not going to call this. And you stick with the consistency through the entire game. because you cannot allow these games to be dictated on a bullshit call like that. And that basically sealed the win right there. That was it. That one stupid call cost the game.
That told me, this is why I hate it, man. I love sports and I hate it at the same time. Because that right there told me that there was too much money involved, and there was I'm not the only one that said it. Cough Sports fixed. It was fixed. That showed it right there. That was fixed. The game was fixed. It's bullshit.
There's hands in the cookie jar, and everyone wants their take. That's what that means.
Pisses me right off, man.
Well, and the same thing, and not that I'm trying to, compare or anything like that, but it almost kind of reminded me of, what was it, 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago when it was 2 years ago because last year he wasn't on the team. Do you remember when Tampa Bay played the Packers in the NFC Championship, the year Brady won it in Tampa? Mm-hmm. The last call in that game was something almost exactly the same as this Chiefs game. They called Kevin King on a defensive pass interference holding call, and he kind of just ran by him, barely touched him, and they threw the flag. However, that exact same thing happened at least 2 or 3 times earlier in the game, no flag. So while I agree, yes, it was a flag, how can you throw that there when there's just seconds on the clock, giving Brady a first down on like the 15-yard line when that pass was incomplete and it was way overthrown, so it wasn't technically even a catchable ball, and you didn't throw a flag on similar plays like that earlier in the game? So that sort of tells me, obviously not speaking as a Packers fan, speaking objectively, there was some sort of agenda, it feels like to me, because you didn't call that all game, so why is it a penalty now when it hadn't been all game? Same exact thing with the Chiefs. It's like, what? They were letting the guys play almost all game. It was a pretty clean game, not a lot of flags. And then all of a sudden, that last drive, it's Flagapalooza. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, they have too much control, man. They have too much power. There's too many pesos to be moved around.
Well, and the thing is, they used to say that back when we were, in wrestling, back when we were in Little League football. You do your job and you do what you need to do. Do not leave it up to the refs. And do not leave it in the ref's hand to dictate the game. You dictate the game, because if you leave it to the refs, you're going to get screwed 9 times out of 10. Do not let the refs dictate the game. And not to say that they couldn't, have an impact in the game, but with the way that the Eagles played so flat the second half, it really didn't take much for them to get hosed. I was thoroughly disappointed, I guess.
I was pissed. I was legitimately pissed, man.
With the way that the second half was refereed, in my opinion, the second half was not anything close to the way it was in the first half. I just wish we could get one damn consistent game. Like, it seems like it's so hard to get one game that there's not any screw-ups, and the refs don't take the limelight. Like, people don't go to watch the refs. They go to watch the players. They go to watch the game. Stay out of the game. And I just find it, I don't know, not to beat a dead horse, but I just find it very ironic that just 2 weeks ago we were talking about the AFC Championship and the Bengals, and what happened there? The Chiefs got 5 downs to get a first down, which basically kind of dictated how that game played out.
Weird,
and
right?
It just so happens to be the same team, and it just so happens to be an instant where the refs screwed up and couldn't figure out what to do. Well, we'll just give it to the Chiefs. Like, okay, come on. I mean, and I honestly, I'm not going to say that there's not some sort of script or some sort of pre-agenda going on, but the part that made it kind of, to me, when I started changing my thinking, I was like, at the first half, I was thinking, oh my God, the Eagles might actually be able to pull this off. They might run away with this, until they tried to overturn that Goddard catch on the sideline and say that he kind of bobbled it. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Are we kidding? That's not a catch. Like, what are we doing? And then they came back out and they were, put more time on the clock. No, take time off the clock. No, now it's 3rd down. Well, no, it's incomplete. Now it's a 4th down. Oh, no, he caught it. That's a 1st down. Like, what the hell are we doing? How do you not know what's going on in the game? Like, you are reffing the game, right? Like, what the hell? It blows me away how you have these guys that are on the field and they're supposed to be the ones maintaining order, and they seem just as confused as the drunk hammer guy 7 beers in up in row 5. Like, what the hell? I just don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't
But
agree with it.
no. But I mean, unfortunately, we're kind of left to their mercy because there's nothing we can do about it. And I don't think anything's going to change until fans start kind of boycotting and, hey, we're done watching this crap until the product on the field gets better. You start taking money out of the owner's pockets, that's when things happen. But let's be honest, no one's going to do that. But it's frustrating. But, it is what it is. Mahomes now the 2-time Super Bowl winner, 2-time MVP winner, 2-time Super Bowl MVP winner. He's already put himself in that higher echelon above everybody else that's got the one win. So, I mean, I've heard people say if he retires right now, he's a first-round ballot, which, I mean, no, I'm not going to say one thing about that. We'll just leave it at that.
He doesn't have – that's bullshit. He doesn't have the resume. No. I've heard the same thing. Everybody wants to make the comparisons to him and Brady. Oh, my God, he's done so much sooner. He's the youngest to do this. His balls descended at 2. I'm so sick of this bullshit with this Patrick Mahomes love affair. Fuck his wife. Fuck his brother. Fuck the Chiefs. Fuck Andy Reid. I don't care if it's spelled R-I-E-D or R-E-I-D. Fuck him. You know what? The only thing on that goddamn team is Eric Bieniemy. I take back everything I said earlier. Fuck Mahomes. He's dog shit. Eric Bieniemy is the whole reason for that whole fucking team. Give that man a head coaching job. I don't give a shit. Hire him to the goddamn Colts to win the Super Bowl in 2025. Mark it.
I'll put it this way. I wasn't going to even get into that, but since you brought it up, man, Mahomes' brother, he didn't waste any time to take the spotlight on that.
Fuck that motherfucker. I don't give a shit. He looks like he's fucking 6'8" if you look at his fucking TikToks. I don't personally, but I've seen that bullshit online. And you know what? Fuck you, fucking Jackson. I will fuck you right in the ass in front of the entire prison, bitch. I don't give a shit. Fuck that guy.
Well,
fuck
and
him.
the thing that I thought, and I don't even know where this started.
Wow.
Where did this whole
wine drunk?
Wait. Where did this whole narrative start of them being the underdogs and people saying that they weren't good enough to go? Like, where did that start? Because I felt like they were heavy favorites at the beginning of the year and throughout the whole year. I don't know where that narrative started, but I did see somebody tweet or retweet or something. It came across my timeline, and I was just like, oh, God, that was nauseating when Mahomes' wife was like, put some respect on the Chiefs' name when you talk about them, doing things that nobody thought we could. Like, what do you be doing things that you thought? What? Like, you were probably one of the top 5 picked teams to go back to the Super Bowl. Like, you were just in the AFC Championship last year. What are you talking about? It's not like you're talking about the Houston Texans here. Like, come on. It's just that, honestly, I like the Chiefs, but that whole thing and all the drama around it makes me not like the Chiefs because it's like it's just so nauseating. And it's like I'm done. I want to see somebody else.
Chiefs have 2 things going for him. One's Eric Bieniemy. Well,
yes.
Let's not talk about the order because the order might be different. But we'll say one of the 2 is Eric Bieniemy, and the other one is Gracie Hunt. You know who you are.
Yeah.
Google search on that one.
I don't think too many other people do, though. I'll just leave it at that.
Anybody listening to this show knows who Gracie Hunt is, let me tell you.
Yeah. Well, they
Guaranteed. Should. They will now after this.
Yeah.
Go ahead and put that in the Google machine.
Yeah. But we'll leave it here and we'll finish this up. What was your total take? I think you said something about 500 you brought in on the game, something like that. Isn't that what you brought in?
Super Bowl, yeah, I think it's like just over.
Yeah, I talked to a couple different people, and I mean, I don't think I really talked to anybody that really brought in that much. Like, I felt like we brought in a decent amount, and I think that Bradbury one was huge because I don't think too many people took that.
No, everybody was taking that under, though.
Well, not even that. I don't think too many people even looked at the defense.
Oh man, that was my thing throughout the playoffs. I think I had a Thornhill hit earlier. I like those defensive over tackles and assists.
Like, I know I had that one I was telling you about on Bet365 that I put together with the free bet, and I had Bradbury's over. And I mean, that was like a $10 or $20 free bet, and it hit for 360. And then I was talking to
Mm-hmm.
my one friend, and he's like, "How the heck did you hit that?" And I said, "Bradbury." And he goes, "You put defense on there?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's a huge odd booster because it's not you're putting a lot of eggs in one little basket." But I think he only finished the night at like 200. I'm like, "Well, shit, I finished 200 after the first quarter on just the touchdowns between Hurts and Kelsey."
God, I
Like,
know
what do you?
that's right.
But yeah, I'm glad I had a lot of free bets saved up for that because I was almost guaranteed to hit something, sprinkling it all over the place. But yeah, I think between the first team scorer and the Bradbury, those were probably the two biggest hits for me.
It was a good weekend, man. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, if only every weekend could be like that, it'd be a lot of
Uh,
fun. Be a lot of fun.
you ain't, Jesus Christ. I honest to God, if every weekend was like that, I'd quit my job.
Well, yeah, that's what I told. I told a couple people. I said, man, I could still pay the house mortgage and not have to get off my ass.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I don't have anything else. I don't think there's really much breaking news. I did see the Eagles lost both of their defense and offensive coordinators. One went to the
Oh, they're.
Cardinals, and one went to the Colts. So that'll be interesting how they replace that.
Oh, it's fantastic. Oh my God, it's a total liquidation.
Yeah, it's going to be a burn it down and start over because they got a lot of unrestricted free agents, I believe, as well, 1-year deals. So I don't know. We'll see. But with that being said, I think that'll wrap up this episode here. And it was a good season. I mean, aside from how the debacle ended, but I felt like it was a pretty good season. A lot of good games, a lot of highlights. But we'll probably go on a little bit of a hiatus here, like we mentioned earlier. Not a whole lot of – it's kind of the dead time of the NFL. Not a lot of news to cover here, breaking news or anything like that until we get a little bit closer to start of the league season in March and then the draft. So
Draft, fantasy draft.
yep, we'll go on a little bit of a hiatus here unless there's some major breaking news worthy things. Maybe we'll hop on and do an impromptu one. But otherwise, kick back, relax, go dive into some NBA bets. Baseball's going to be starting up here if that's your thing. Hockey's going on. There's something out there to put your money into. If you're willing, there's something to bet on. So yeah, until the next episode, go have some fun, kick back and relax, and we'll catch you guys here in a couple months, and we'll start this show all over again.
Get off me, Paul. You're crushing my smokes.